bank on it. The officiating will be horrible. That's just March, isn't it? It was awful in the SEC tournament. It's perennially awful in the NCAA tournament. Can we both agree that the officiating will be horrible, Caleb?
It will be abysmal because officials, we always say March Madness is that's the one shining moment for the player or team to make a run. It's the one shining moment for the officials.
That's well said. I kind of figured out where you were going before you even said it. I hadn't thought about that. It is one shining moment for the officials. And other than Major League Baseball umpires, basketball officials have the biggest ego of all sports.
Insane ego. And you're right. I never thought about that. MLB umpires do have a massive ego.
They're the worst. You look at me wrong and I'll throw you out of a game.
Yeah, you're right. And no, my favorite is MLB umpires are the only ones that they have to do the gigantic motion to throw you out. You know what I mean? Like, yes. You're out of there. And it's like they want everybody to know I threw you out. Like,
it's so bizarre. I was an umpire when I was a teenager. And for me to be a 17-year-old and throw a 35-year-old man out of a game, which I did a couple of times, was pretty odd. I mean, it was a very strange dynamic there. Here's a 17-year-old guy saying you have to leave the property, which they did. They had to leave the entire thing. I think the officiating, bank on it, brought to you by Commercial Bank, actually hurts Tennessee because they like to play physical. Caleb disagrees. Bank on it, brought to you by Commercial Bank.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life.
Caleb, Tennessee likes to play physical, and if there's a quick whistle, I think it hurts the Vols. I think the chances are officiating will hurt the Vols. Now, don't go down the path of, not you, but our listeners and in the chat box, and we'll go to that. Don't go down the path of the officials are against Tennessee, because officials don't really care for the most part. They can get caught up in the moment, which happens a lot in basketball. A team goes on a run, and then suddenly you don't even realize it. And I've been in this situation before, Caleb. When you see somebody rally and make a run, you can subconsciously, as an official, get caught up in that. But so that could happen. The officiating could just be bad. We're not saying it's contrived against Tennessee, but we think the officiating will be horrible. You think that could actually help the Vols?
I do. And yeah, for those who do be careful what you wish for when you draw official conspiracy theories, like conspiracy theories of against officials for or against your team, because to this day, Dave, Syracuse fans think the only reason that pass interference was called against Tennessee in the 98 game was because the official who called it was from East Tennessee. By the way, forget the video footage that shows that was an obvious pass interference on that final drive.
Back in 98. I don't know that it's obvious. It was a bang call, but it was definitely pass interference.
He was hit before the ball got to him, put it that way. And yeah, so I just wanted to point that out. I think it helps Tennessee for a couple of reasons. One, and I'm kind of going to contradict what I said yesterday. If there's one benefit for playing all three games in the SEC tournament, Tennessee got used to over officiating. SEC tournament officiating this past weekend, I mean, that was their one shining moment. It was embarrassing. They called everything. I mean, Felix Opera got called for 2 fouls in both days that were not fouls. It was absolutely abysmal. I think that just for the record, Dave, in every game Tennessee played, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Tennessee and the team Tennessee played had more fouls than their season average per game. Now, that's 6 times. Tennessee 3 times and then their opponent 3 times. What are the chances that all 6 times you get more fouls than your season average per game?
Oh, well, you shouldn't. I mean, the chances are very low.
Insanely low. And Tennessee proved against that they can make it to the SEC tournament title game. Here's the other part. I think a quick whistle helps Tennessee because you're thinking about them on the defensive side. What about the offensive side? look at what Zakai Ziegler does and how they go to the paint. How often does Tennessee's offense try to draw contact in the paint? Particularly Ziegler, Meshack. I'm just going to tell you guys this. This is the tournament where forget Chaz Lanier, forget Igor Milicic. Ziegler should be driving to the basket. That should be the fun. That should be the root of the offense this game. Now, you would bring up so just to bring up John Calipari, for instance, one of the reasons Calipari underachieved so badly in the NCAA tournament, the dribble drive is the perfect type of offense in the NCAA tournament because it gets you to the foul line. The problem with John Calipari and the dribble drive is his players don't hit their free throws. But Zakai Ziegler will hit his free throws. He should be driving to the basket every single time because the minute someone gets in his way, they're going to call the foul and he's going to go to the line. So I think the way Tennessee likes to draw contact on offense is going to put them, they might shoot 40 free throws in a game. I mean, it could go that crazy.
Well, the flip side is this. While I do believe it will be over officiated, it could just be poorly officiated. And I do wonder if the fact that Rick Barnes is on the sideline and he knows how to work officials, just like Rick Pitino, or there's a couple other mentions of great coaches that are in this tournament. I think he knows how to work the officials. And I think he has more pull than, I don't even know who Wofford's head coach is. So to your point, you would think that the officiating would favor Tennessee, given the fact that Rick Barnes is a savvy coach who can work an official.
Yes, I agree. You would absolutely think it would favor him. I'm not worried about. I'm not thinking about this from the Wofford game. I'm thinking about it when you get to like the next round or to the Sweet 16 around that time. Who works the officials better? I've already told you guys. You can wake up and Tennessee can get drunk the night before and play that game hungover. They're winning. I'm just going to say it. Like Wofford should pack up and go home just so they don't get humiliated. So
Ouch.
Yeah.
All right. David saying, I'm concerned a very physical game that foul trouble is our kryptonite with poor guard depth and no post depth. That's the other thing that we haven't really discussed that kind of flies in the face of what you said. And that is, if Tennessee is in a physical game in which the refs are calling things too closely, they don't have great depth to overcome. But I wouldn't think Wofford does either.
No, I don't think they do. And I think as you get deeper, that's where coaching comes into play. And maybe this has been a flaw in Rick Barnes as he doesn't change his style. There's a great, this is one of the things that made Pat Summitt a great coach, is there's a video of her speaking at halftime when Tennessee won their 7th national title, the Lady Vols with Candace Parker. And they're playing North Carolina, Ivory Latta, North Carolina, the number 1 team in the nation the whole time. And it's on YouTube. You can watch it. Pat Summitt talking to her players and she's hyping them up. She breaks down, Tennessee's trailing by 15 at one point and comes back to win. At halftime, she breaks down the adjustment. She basically said, look, the way the refs are calling the game, don't go for a rebound if you miss a shot. Just get back on defense or just try to get back. She basically told them to avoid the physicality under the basket because she didn't want her players getting in foul trouble, and the adjustment worked. Rick Barnes is going to have to do that on defense. Don't focus more on trying to get the rebound than contesting the shot on defense. And on offense, once the shot goes, try to get back on defense and don't try to go for too many offensive rebounds. You got to adjust that way if they're calling ticky-tack fouls, right? That's just the rule.
Yeah, let me ask you this. What was the backdoor screen alley-oop? Who was that thrown to? Was that Meshack in the Florida game?
That was Apparel, I believe.
Okay, so my question is this for you. If Tennessee's in a tight game, does Rick Barnes have the cojones to make that sort of call, which is kind of like throwing a deep pass in football, as opposed to just playing his straight up offense? In a tight game late, does he have the willingness to make that call? I don't think he does, which goes back to my Houston point. I think they lose a close, tight game against the Cougars.
I think he does. I mean, he made it in the SEC tournament. I think Rick Barnes has the cojones to make that call.
Yeah, but that was midway through the second half. He wasn't making any of those calls.
Well, I mean, against Houston, you're not going to want to do that because Houston's athletic enough. I think Tennessee's going to want to grind it out against Houston. I'm
just saying be aggressive in general.
Okay, yeah. I think he'll have the cojones to be aggressive. Tennessee, Zakai Ziegler is his favorite player that he's ever coached, and he's the most aggressive player he's ever coached.
Oh, that's true.